This video is about the Indiana Religious Freedom Bill and how homosexuals in the media are twisting things to make it seem unfair. Well, first, I'd like to emphasize the difference between racial discrimination and discrimination based on sexual orientation. And the irony of homosexuals persecuting me for my political view, the government helping them, and as well as mental health department and law enforcement helping them, and them seeing no problem with that. It's quite ironic, really, that political discrimination is a very serious thing, but discriminating against someone for what is a sin is natural, normal, and even righteous. And I'll explain to you. Even in Christianity, there's a difference between judging someone and rebuking them or correcting them in a fair, practical, logical way. When you judge someone, you say, hey, I don't want you around because you're a bad person. When you rebuke someone, you say, you're doing something wrong. You know, it's best for your soul, it's best for you and society and God if you address that problem that you're doing wrong. So that is what I do with homosexuals. I rebuke them. Every chance I get, every video that's about homosexuality. So, this guy named Rex W. Hupp came out with an article. I believe it was the Chicago Tribune. And he said that it's a basic tenet of every faith to have love. You see how these people twist things. They twist religion. They even twist the idea of love. Love in a romantic sense is what a man has for a woman or a woman has for a man. Nothing else can logically be considered love. Their lack of basic understanding of what love really is, you know? You can't compare, for instance, the love a man has for a woman to the love of somebody has for raping women, or the love a serial killer has to kill people. That would be twisting it. I mean, it's obvious, right? So why then would you compare the love a man has for a woman to any other kind of sinful love, especially a love a man has for a man? In Deuteronomy, and Leviticus, and Revelations, etc., etc., Corinthians, they talk about the difference between these types of love by expressly denouncing homosexuality, saying it's detestable. Not only is it wrong, but it's detestable. So when the Indiana comes out with a law that makes way more sense than same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage is a sin to any major religion, but yet America, which calls itself a Christian nation for the most part, allows it. There is no federal law prohibiting discrimination based on sexual orientation, as I'm made to understand. And that's for a reason. Because this is a sin. Okay, this is one nation under God, not one nation under a couple queers. So how can anyone protest this law, especially Apple and Yelp? And of course, Google secretly protested. Of course, the people in the mental health protested, because when they remove homosexuality as a mental disorder, I believe it was a unanimous decision by the council, by the American Psychiatric Association, I believe it was. It was a unanimous decision. Either that or it was only one dissenter. I forgot which one it was. But it was overwhelmingly they chose to remove it. So obviously mental health and liberals support the protests. You know, it's quite sad that liberals are so wrong about such key issues, such as eugenics and abortion and homosexuality. It confirms that both parties love immorality, they love oppression, they love pandering to the elites and the status quo. It is disgusting. We call ourselves an affluent society. We call ourselves a free and democratic society. This is a joke. These people are less than 1% of the fucking nation. Okay? Less than 1% of the nation is sinners. More than that are criminals. Are we to make crime legal because there's a bunch of criminals in America and we don't want to hurt their feelings? What is freedom of religion? Okay? If you have a church and somebody comes in and they're dressed like a fucking Satanist, you should have the right to turn that person away. If you have any religious institution and someone comes in as an unrepentant sinner, you should have the right to turn that person away. The same way if you start a business based on your moral and religious values, you should have the right to turn a fucking homosexual away for the love of God. Yes, you should. Of course you should. Say you have a business for kids, right? Should you not be able to turn pedophiles away? Could you not twist love and say, oh, the love that a man has for a child is a basic tenet of faith? No, it's not. That's your satanic faith. That's your twisting the idea of what love is. There is no such thing as a romantic love other than what one heterosexual human being has for another. That is the only definition of romantic love, period. Anything else is sick, twisted, and the person who's saying it should be executed before their demonic ideas are allowed to spread. That's how serious this is. So of course the governor was right for signing the NN2 law. Of course this law is fair and correct. Of course the protesters are a bunch of hypocritical idiots who practice logical fallacies and illogical madness. It is quite sad when you have sports organizations threatening to not have their sports events in Indiana over a law which is morally and spiritually correct. This is part of the decadence of society, accepting homosexuality. It is sick, it is twisted, it is unfair. I've pointed out that homosexuals are disproportionately sex offenders, and they can't say, oh, it's because we're poor. It's because we're... No, it's not. Some of the richest people in America are homosexuals. CEOs are homosexuals. Homosexuals aren't disproportionately poor, but black people are. So you can't use the same reasons that black people turn to crime as justifications for why homosexuals do. That's a joke. Some of the most powerful groups, the most powerful group in America, is a homosexual group, the Bohemian Club. I mean, you have no argument whatsoever. It's a sin according to the three major religions, and the Dalai Lama has also come out and said that homosexuality is not for Buddhists. What more do you need? The biggest religions in the world all condemn homosexuality. Of course, it has everything to do with freedom of religion. We get our morality from religion. We get the rights, you know. We hold these things to be self-evident. We get what is self-evident from Christianity. In America, that is. Our Constitution was based on Christian principles. And homosexuality is not protected under the Constitution. Your pursuit of happiness ends when it harms society and it interferes with others' fair boundaries of their pursuit of happiness. It is immoral, it is unholy, it is blasphemous to allow same-sex marriage, because marriage is ordained by God. You take vows. You take vows to God. It is immoral, it is blasphemous to protest Indiana's religious freedom law. Since when do we let the heathens, the infidels, the apostates, the atheists, the homosexuals, women who are whining about the patriarchy in religion, so since when do we let these unscrupulous agents of Satan determine what the political limits of religion are? Do not be fooled by whining, sensitive, pedophilic homosexuals and their pathetic allies in the LGBT community. Anyone who aligns themselves with homosexuality has aligned themselves with Satan, including the Democratic Party. And no, I'm not saying the Republican Party is righteous, because they are scumbags as well. But make no mistake, when you make a deal with Satan, you always lose. And sinners are of Satan. Unrepentant sinners, that is. Thank you.